Dear students, welcome to today's lecture. We have almost completed the topic indigo. So far, we know Gandhi has succeeded. His a moment of civil disobedience of Champaran was successful, and the government has at that time the lieutenant governor of that area has just constituted a commission, set up a commission, inquiry commission, and in which the officials besides the landlords and Gandhi on behalf of tenants were the members. So they held the inquiries, they initiated the inquiries. Today we are on the page number 52. In the middle of the page, we start the official inquiry assembled a crushing mountain of evidence against big planters. Big planters means the landlords. They have assembled, they have collected crushing mountain, a huge number of evidence against these planters means landlords. And when they saw this, they agreed, okay, something wrong has been done, against these people, these peasants. They agreed this in principle to make refunds, and they agreed to make in principle to make refunds to the peasants. They would now refund the amount that has been extorted rather from these peasants. They would refund this money to them. They asked this Gandhi. The peasants, but how much must we pay? They asked Gandhi, but how much amount? Means whole or part of it, 50%, half of it, whatever amount. They asked Gandhi how much money they have to refund. They thought he would demand repayment in full of the money which they had illegally and deceitfully extorted from these sharecroppers. From these sharecroppers, they have extorted, rather, sorry, a huge amount. They have obtained from them by force, by unfair means. That's called the extortion, or deceitfully or illegally received such a huge amount from these shoppers. Now they thought that he will demand the repayment in full. He asked only 50, but he asked only 50% of it. There he seemed adamant. They thought that he would not refuse. He would refuse to obey or change his opinion. He would not change his opinion. He seemed to be adamant on this. It is written by Reverend J.Z. Hodge, a British missionary in Champaran, who observed the entire episode at close range. He was monitoring, looking, because he was a missionary in Champaran area. This man, J.Z. Hodge, he was closely monitoring the developments in Champaran. He observed it entire episode. So he thought that Gandhi would be adamant on it. He would not budge. He would not change his opinion. He would demand 50% and would like to receive 50%. Thinking probably that he would not give away, means he would not yield, he would not budge. He would ask the 50%. 50% means 50%. He meant it. The representative of the planters offered to refund to the extent of 25%. But on these planters or these feudal lords or these landlords, they offered to refund only 25%. And to his amazement, Mr. Gandhi took him at his word. Okay, 25%, return refund 25% only. Thus, with this, the deadlock was broken. This settlement was adopted unanimously. Unanimously means with one voice, with everybody's consent by the commission. Gandhi explained that the amount of the refund was less important than the fact that the landlords had been obliged, made legally or morally to do. They have been forced to do. Gandhi said, well, this the amount of the refund was less important. This is not important. The important thing is that these landlords had been obliged. They have been morally, they have been forced moral to do it, to surrender part of the money, that amount to these peasants. With it, part of their prestige, not only the amount, but also their prestige, their honor, they were ready to surrender. This was first time that they had to oblige and they had to bow before these peasants, poor peasants. Therefore, as far as the peasants were concerned, the planters had behaved as lords above the law. So this was first time that these peasants, as far they are concerned, the planters had behaved as lords above the law. So far they behaved as if they are above the law. They are their lords. They are their masters. Nobody will ask them to oblige before these peasants. Now the peasants saw that he had rights and defenders. He saw that he had the rights, and there are the people who can defend him. He learned courage, and first most important thing from this moment, they learned that these people learned the courage. They became courageous, they became bold. They could now voice their grievances against the authority, against these people, even to justify Gandhi's position. But the developments, whatever happened, that justified the Gandhi's position. Within a few years, the British planters abandoned their estates. They gave up their estates. They have accumulated a huge chunk of land there, and they have just then used these peasants as their slaves. Now they have to abandon. They gave up their estates, these big areas of land, which reverted to the peasants, which was given back. Reverted means returned to the peasants, this land. Indigo sharecropping disappeared, and the sharecropping, this that disappeared from from the area. Now there was no landlord, there was no peasant, there was no such this discrimination. Gandhi never contented himself with large political or economic solutions. He never contented himself with, means he was never satisfied with the political or economic solution. He saw the cultural and social backwardness in the Champaran villages and wanted to do something about it immediately. He closely observed the cultural and social backwardness of the Champaran villages. So he would like to do something with it. He would like to get this poverty abolished, removed and eradicated, and this was his main aim. He appealed for teachers. First step was that he appealed the teachers to come and to teach them. Madhav Desai, Narhari Parikh, two young men who had just joined Gandhi as a disciples. Disciples means followers, and their wives volunteered for the work. These two people, along with their wives, they volunteered. They voluntarily came to the place to do the work, to teach the students. Several more came from Bombay, Pune, and other distant parts of the land. Other people came from other parts from Bombay and other parts of the land to impart their services there. Devdas Gandhi's youngest son arrived from ashram, and so did Mrs. Gandhi. Devdas Gandhi means the grandson. Devdas Gandhi's son, youngest son, means the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, came from the ashram along with Mrs. Gandhi, means Kusturba Gandhi, wife of Mahatma Gandhi. They also arrived there. Primary schools, primary schools were opened in 6 villages, set up. In 6 primary schools. Kusturba taught the ashram rules on the personal cleanliness and community sanitation, as they observed in the ashram, their cleanliness, personal cleanliness, and the community. She taught the people there how to give, so that they can abolish the untouchability and this a particular class that was meant for this. So everybody has there. It was the rule of the ashram that everybody has to perform the duty to clean the latrines and other things, personal cleanliness, and so she taught these rules here. Health conditions were miserable. Health conditions was very poor. Gandhi got a doctor to volunteer his service for 6 months. He sought the help from a doctor to serve here for at least for 6. Three medicines. The three medicines were available there. That was castor oil, quinine, and sulfur ointment. Three medicines only available there. Anybody who showed a coated tongue was given a dose of castor oil, means some problem with their tongue was given castor oil. Anybody with malaria fever received quinine, also castor oil. These were the medicines given to the people. Anybody with skin eruptions received ointment plus castor oil. These are only three medicines. Those were given to the people who are suffering from some disease. Gandhi noticed the filthy state of women's clothes. They were full of dirty, filthy state, dirty clothes the people, the women folk wore there, used there. He asked Kusturba to talk to them about it. He asked his wife to talk to people, the ladies hailing from that area, to tell them they should be clean, they should wear the clean clothes and all. One woman took Kusturba into her hut and showed her inside her hutment and said, "Look, there is no box or cupboard here for clothes, so there is no place or no room for the clothes to keep. The sari I am wearing is the only one I have." Means there is only one sari. How could she remove it and change it? During his long stay in Champaran, Gandhi kept a long distance watch on the ashram. He kept the long distance watch, means he was also observing the developments at ashram from far off place. He sent regular instructions by small and by mail and asked for financial accounts. He would send the instructions by mail to the people at ashram and asked for financial accounts to maintain the financial accounts there, and he sought all these things. Once he wrote to the residents that it was time to fill in the old latrine trenches and dig new ones, otherwise the old ones would begin to smell bad. Once he wrote to the residents of that area that it was time to fill in the old latrine trenches. They had dug the trenches for the fecal matters, and now he asked them that they are full, they should now dig the new ones, otherwise the old ones would leak or they would smell foul. The Champaran episode was a turning point in Gandhi's life, because the success in the Champaran he received, that was a turning point in his freedom struggle. What I did, he explained, was a very extraordinary thing. I declared that the British could not order me about in my own country. This was the first thing that I did. That means I challenged Britishers there, and I asked him not to. I will that he would not obey their order in his own country. But Champaran did not begin as an act of defiance. But Champaran was not an act of defiance. Defiance means refuse to obey. This was not the act of that type of act. It grew out of an attempt to alleviate the distress of large number of poor peasants. But it began with some other attempt. What was that attempt? To alleviate means to decrease, to bring down the distress of large number poor peasant, the poor peasant, large number of poor who are suffering from distress, and to elevate that, to bring it down, to lessen it. That was the attempt he made there. This was the typical Gandhi pattern. This was a typical Gandhian pattern. He did. His politics were intertwined. Intertwined is twisted. This was a typical Gandhian pattern. His politics were intertwined with the practical day-to-day problems of the millions. Day-to-day problems of the millions of Indians are facing, that is twisted or intermingled with the practical problems of day-to-day. His policies and the practical problems, they are intertwined or they are mixed. His was not a loyalty to abstractions. He was not loyal to abstractions. Uh, Abstractions means quality with dealing with ideas. Abstraction is quality of dealing with ideas rather than events. Means only not only ideas. Abstraction not to deal with only ideas and events, but also with the facts. This was his main say he was loyalty to abstraction. It was a loyalty to living human beings. Loyalty to living human beings. He has to be loyal to human beings rather than only ideas or events or all that. In everything Gandhi did, moreover, he tried to mold a new free Indian who could stand on his own feet and thus make India free. In everything Gandhi did, whatever he did, more he tried to mold a new free Indian, to mold it, new free Indian who could stand on his own. He molded a person into new Indian so that he can stand on his own feet, on his own, thus make India free, and then he can make the India free. First, a person has to stand on his own legs, then he can struggle for the independence. This was what he did. Early in the Champaran action, Charles Freer Andrews, the English pacifist who had become a devoted follower of the Mahatma, came to bid Gandhi farewell for going on a tour of duty to the Fiji Islands. Early in the Champaran action, early part of that action, that moment, Charles Freer Andrews, the English pacifist, who believes in the peaceful attitude or peace, not war, who is against the war, means this man, Charles Freer Andrews. Though an Englishman, he supported Gandhi. Gandhi had become a devoted follower, he had become a devoted follower of Gandhi. Came to bid means say good Gandhi farewell, goodbye before going on a tour of duty to Fiji Islands. He had his duty in Fiji Islands for going to depart. Before his departure, he came to Gandhi to say goodbye to him. Gandhi's lawyer friends thought it would be a good idea for Andrews to stay in Champaran and help them. But the Gandhi's lawyers, who were his friends, who were his comrades in the freedom struggle, and they were of the idea that if Charles Freer Andrew stays there in Champaran, this will be help. This will help them. Andrews was willing if Gandhi agreed. Okay, if Gandhi agrees, or if Gandhi requests or orders and says he would stay. But Gandhi was vehemently opposed. He was strongly opposed to this idea. He said, "You think that in this unequal fight, it would be helpful if we have an Englishman on our side. This is an unequal fight. On the one hand, there are oppressed, on the other hand, there are oppressed. On one hand, there are the natives, poor peasants, on the other hand, there are the strong, powerful Englishmen. And do you think this one Englishman on our side would help us, give us a... No, he was again. This shows the weakness of our heart. This means we are weak at heart. The cause is just, and you must rely upon yourself to win the battle. This is a just cause. So we should rely, we should trust ourselves, upon ourselves to win the battle. Then we can win. We should not trust others to help us in this. You should not seek a prop in what's called. You should not seek a prop in Mr. Andrews because he happens to be an Englishman. You should not seek the support. or a type of a pole that is erected to support something. A support in Mr. Andrew, because he happens to be an Englishman, you should not seek that from him. He had read our minds correctly, Rajendra Prasad comments. In his he said that he had read our minds correctly, Gandhi, and we had no reply, we had no answer. Means Gandhi in this way taught us a lesson in self-reliance. So Gandhi taught us we should be relying on ourselves rather than others. Then we can fight this war of independence. Self-reliance, Indian independence, and help to Sharecroppers were all bound together. All these things, all the three things were interconnected. Self-reliance to rely on ourselves, Indian independence, and help to sharecroppers. All the three things, although they seem different from each other, but they are together. They are bound together. All the three. With this, we completed today's lecture and as well as the topic indigo. Khuda Hafiz.